Welcome back to HomeSpot, everyone. I hope you all are having a great day. I myself am having a pretty solid one so far. Up on today's agenda, we have a little bit of a shop project. We're actually going to be knocking out like three birds with one stone. I have a planer that needs a permanent home. I have a router table that needs a permanent home. The router table I haven't had for too long, but the planer I've had for much too long and should have needed a permanent home 2 3 years ago. But we're going to do that today. And we're going to also try to knock out or incorporate a lot of storage, maybe two, three, four drawers, cabinet. I don't know. We're just going to turn it into something and make it nice at the same time. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so first up, y'all, we have to break down our 4 foot by 8 foot sheets of plywood down to much more manageable sizes. Now, I could do it on the table saw, but it is very sketchy and probably not the safest either. Craig makes this really nice attachment for your circular saw. Not quite track saw worthy per se, but it does the job. Once I have everything down to much more manageable sizes, they're not down to exact length and width, but I can now move on over to the table saw and actually get them to exact sizes now. When starting any project, you always want to start with a final product or at least an idea of what you want it to look like. In my case, I'm going to have a planer on top. I know that my planer needs to be a little bit taller than my workbench. That way, as I'm feeding wood through the planer, it doesn't get caught. And I also don't want it too high either because I don't want it to fall off the planer. As it's coming off the planer, I want it to just gently fall onto the workbench. So need to take a few measurements first. Need to take into consideration how high my planer bed is. I also need to take into consideration if I'm gonna have casters. In my case, I do. I know my casters are a total of 5 inches thick, so you wanna take into account that, hey, my cabinet needs to be 5 inches shorter due to that. And the planer bed is about 2.5 inches taller. So I need to, essentially take 2.5 inches off the top as well. You need to also make sure the orientation of your plywood. Maybe you need to take off some material thickness. So all of that comes into play in this situation. Now, once all of my panels are cut to size, before assembling them, I do want to take a little groove out of the back side of each and every single one of them. This back panel, or this back groove I should say, is going to accept the back panel itself. The back panel is just going to be made out of some hardboard. It's about 1/4 inch thick. So I'm just simply taking a 1/4 inch groove out of the back of all of these. As far as joinery is concerned, we're going to be using the majority pocket holes and some butt joints with screws as well. Now, a lot of people hate on pocket screws. You have to use it in the correct sense. When doing cabinetry, perfectly fine. It's more than adequate. It's more than strong enough. But I've seen people use it with 2x4, with just rough lumber that it's not going to hold up over time. But in cabinetry, it is perfectly acceptable, especially when you want to hide some type of screw. You don't want to see the joinery. This is a good way of doing it. Now, even though this is a shop project, I am going to be doing some edge banding. Number one, it looks better, obvious. But number two, and I take this from experience, I have some shop projects or some shop furniture that I've had for an extended number of years. And just over time, especially with plywood, the top layer, the nice shiny looking layer of plywood, gets caught on your clothes, gets caught on shoes, etc., tools, and it starts to get damaged. And that's just one way of protecting the panel, and it looks a lot better. So taking it a step further. While I still have everything disassembled and everything is still very easy to get into, I do want to take some time and mark out exactly where my drawer slides are gonna go. Now, you don't necessarily have to do this right now, but trust me, you would much rather do it right now while it's fully accessible rather than once the cabinet is fully built and now you're having to climb into a cabinet and twist yourself around in uncomfortable positions to figure out where this drawer slide screw is going to go. So also take it from experience, do this now, do a little bit of math, and set yourself up for success in the future. Once the back panel groove is fully cut out and we know exactly where our drawer slides are going to go, it's time to go ahead and assemble the cabinet itself. Here's where some 90-degree corner clamps and just some really long clamps really come into play. One thing you should know with pocket hole screws, when screwing it in, it tends to want to pull the piece of wood or the panel to the direction that you're screwing into. So if you're screwing from right to left, it's gonna wanna take that piece of plywood to the left, and a little bit of clamping pressure will fix just that. Alright y'all, and I lied to y'all. I should have probably held off on assembly because I assembled the large cabinet and then I realized I was going to have to take it right back out because the back panel has nowhere to be put in. So I had to take it apart. Next, we need to figure out how we're going to mount the casters on the bottom. Now, I am using two separate methods. The ones on the left are going to be just plain Jane screws because they're going to actually screw into the bottom and they're going to catch a little bit of the side wall. However, the ones on the right, they're only going to screw in through the one sheet of plywood. And that's not going to work. We're going to have a screw poking out, so I went ahead and decided just to go with the bolt all the way through, and honestly, it's probably stronger. As far as the drawers, they are going to be made out of the same 3/4 inch thick plywood. And as far as the bottom panels, they're going to be the 1/4 inch hardy board that I used for the back panels as well. Now here's where you can see one of my mistakes, and this is just a blooper on my end. I cut the front and back panel too long. I didn't account for the thickness of the left and right panels. My fault, done it before. and I didn't necessarily want to recut out a whole new piece, and I did it for all of them, not just for the one drawer. I didn't want to cut out essentially 8 whole new pieces of plywood. So I went ahead and just cut it and moved my pocket holes. This is a shop project, keep in mind, it's gonna be for me, so it's not for a client. However, you're never gonna see them anyways. It's gonna be hidden by the actual drawer front, and then the second piece is gonna be all the way in the back. The only time you'll ever see it is if you take the drawer completely out, and it's mine at the end of the day. All right, drawer slides are going in. We do want to test fit the drawers before we head on to paint. Again, we just want to make sure that everything is 100% working, everything fits. All right, next step of the process, drawer fronts. Now I have 4 drawer fronts, or 4 drawers in total, and I have 1 door. Now I could have just cut 1 piece of plywood to the exact thickness, length, and width and just called it a day. And I actually did do that with 2 of them. The top 2 drawers are pretty thin, so the shaker style really wouldn't have worked. However, the bottom 2 drawers and the door, I did go ahead and make them shaker style. Is it fancy, too fancy for a garage project? Maybe, probably, but at the same time, this is also where you want to practice your craft on your own material, and then that way you can take that experience that you've gained and apply it into a real life project, a project that has been given to you, or you've been trusted with that project. All right, so here's one of the reasons for this project. I am using a tongue and groove bit set. It is newer, this is like the 2nd or 3rd time I've used it, but do you see how much wiggle there is in that router? It's just moving left and right. It's probably not very safe, but this is the exact reason we're making that cabinet. We're gonna go ahead and bolt on this router to it at the end when we're done, and also the planer as well. Now it's on to assembling the drawer, and here you can really get a good idea of how a shaker style drawer front really is. It's a 5-piece construction, each one of the sides and the center. Now I do make the drawer fronts about 1/8 of an inch thicker than what I really need to. That way at the end, once everything is glued and dried, I can go back and cut out the glue squeeze out, but also just really dial in the fitment. Now it's at this point that I really noticed a screw up, and not necessarily a screw up, I kind of seen this one coming from the get-go. So it's essentially 2 cabinets in one. There is a middle divider essentially dividing the left cabinet and the right cabinet, and 2 casters, or a set of 2 casters on each side. What I kind of figured was going to happen, but I was hoping it wouldn't, was that it was going to start sagging in the middle. And before I even put any real weight on top, before I put the router and the planer, it had already started sagging. So I went ahead and ordered another set of casters and put one on the front and in the back in the center, and that eliminated 100% of the sag. And honestly, I should have done this from the beginning. It was just me, my wishful thinking, hoping that it wouldn't happen. However, it sure did. All right, onto installing the door itself. Now, with the door hinges, it's pretty much just following the instructions that are set up in the box. Now, these hinges, they're just some cheap ones off Amazon. Nothing fancy, nothing special. A lot of people use the playing card trick. I happen to use Pokemon cards. It's pretty much the exact same thing. I didn't invent this method. I've just seen it done plenty of times, and it genuinely works very well. All right, once I know that the router fits, it's time to disassemble. I went ahead and disassembled the right cabinet as well. I haven't necessarily put the planer on and mark it yet, but I'll do that here in the end once the drawers are out of the way. And then it's time for paint. Now, I've been really eyeing this moody green, like darker forest green. I don't know what the actual color code is or anything like that, but I've been eyeing it. I went ahead and pulled the trigger on it, and I think y'all are gonna see a lot more green on the channel moving forward. And just like that, everyone, we are done with today's project. I do thank y'all for following me along, and I hope y'all took something away from the build itself. A few takeaways myself, though. Some pros, some cons, something that I may do a little bit different. So, pros. The router has a new home. That was number one that we needed to do. Planer also has a new home. Wanted to make sure that was taken care of. Number three, we have a ton more storage, 4 total drawers and a whole different cabinet that we are going to be loading up with, I'm sure, a bunch of different stuff. And number four, it looks nice. I like the moody green. It's a whole vibe in itself. So y'all may be seeing a lot more of that. Now, cons. I wouldn't say these are cons. However, it is something that I would do a little bit different next time, and it's just the depth of the cabinet. I went with 27 inches, which is a little wider than I really needed to accommodate both the planer and the router itself. So a little bit overkill. And I could have also gotten away with one full less sheet of plywood if I had gone to like 23 and a half or 23 and 3/4. But it is what it is. We are here now. I have a few off pieces of the extra plywood that I had to buy, so sure we'll use it. But that's really the only thing that I would change. Everything else solid. It's good to go. I'm actually recording this a few weeks after the cabinet is done. I've already put it through its paces. It's gotten quite a bit of use. I got to say, I should have done this a long time ago, but not to keep ranting. I thank y'all for watching, and I will catch y'all on next week's video. Bye, y'all.